Hi there from Roger Beatty. A lot of you guys knew him very well. Hello, it's great to be here with all of you, and thank you all for coming to support everyone living with HIV. This past October marks the 8th year I've been alive since my HIV diagnosis, and it's been a hell of an 8 years. I tell you this because I'm living proof that HIV has become manageable. It has only been cured once by accident. I'm afraid this disease is being seen as no big deal. I know that's what I did. In fact, I ignored the truth for so long that I didn't seek care or even take medication. Within 2 years, I had purple lesions all over my body, and I was in denial even then. I thought they were bed bug bites. I buried myself with drugs and avoidance. This was fueled by depression, something most people with HIV have had even before their diagnosis. You can chalk this up to behavior, or you can see it for what it is: depression, an opportunistic infection, possibly the most deadly of all. In my opinion, because it can cause us to contract and ignore the seductive killer. I think I can safely say all of us in this room know what a death wish is. Who here hasn't driven when they probably shouldn't have? Eaten food that can cause a plethora of health problems? Gotten high or not worn a seatbelt? Putting yourself at risk for HIV is no different. I did all of these things, betting that I could end it all. But I was the lucky one. I had a steady stream of people, of very significant people, all of whom made an indelible mark on me. The St. James Infirmary for Sex Workers in San Francisco, where I was diagnosed, with whom I trusted, because they met me where I was and cared about me and not how I made money. After diagnosis, I was given a place to live, a support network, and most importantly, a mentor. Her name was Tueri, and she was the social worker that took me in. She was as nice and helpful as everybody else, but she was someone I could relate to because she had been an addict. And no matter how lost and hopeless I felt, I could just look at this woman. I could just look at her and know, not think, but believe that I could too. She was the living example of recovery and growth. I graduated on time from that program at Larkin Street Youth Services. With their help, I had gotten on SSI and into affordable housing. I even got into the HIV clinic at UCSF. Unfortunately, the cancer had taken over before my first appointment, and I went to the emergency room with horrible stomach cramps caused by a type of dysentery. I was immediately admitted and surrounded by a room full of physicians, all marveling at the progress of the Kaposi sarcoma and my extreme denial. I was met with an angry response when I asked if I could get all these spots lasered off. He said, "You'll be dead within a year if you don't start treatment right now. We're not talking about scars." The heart therapy didn't work though, probably because of the chemotherapy. Here I was, a 25-year-old who was used to walking 5 miles a day, and I could barely walk 5 feet to the toilet, and then I was barely able to pull myself off of it. Let me tell you, if I could have gotten high at that point, I'd be dead right now. Paul Birnbaum, my pulmonologist, struggled with me to help me through this terrible time. He would come in after his long shifts on his days off to make sure I was sitting up. I had my lungs surgically attached to my chest wall, and he wanted to make sure that they didn't heal where I was sitting down so that I would have the best capacity of breathing for the rest of my life, because they're stuck there. He cared. He cared honestly more than I did at that point. I had given up and was ready to die. I was in end-of-life care with a diagnosis of end-stage AIDS. I moved back home to Beaver County to die on my parents' couch. They met me where I was, and they weren't pushy about me starting meds. They had to let me come to that decision all on my own, and they knew that I'm very stubborn. This is when Dr. Stacy Lane and Stuart Fisk came into my life. I met them through the Positive Health Clinic of Allegheny General Hospital at their satellite clinic in Aliquippa. Stuart was really cool, and he had been in the trenches of the AIDS crisis. He worked in an SRO that was across the street from the one I lived in, doing harm reduction that was really pioneering work at the time. Dr. Lane had a connection that anyone would agree she conveys to all of her clients, that tells you she cares. Most doctors would have said, if you want to live, here's the medications you should take. Honestly, I didn't want to live, but somehow I felt that she wanted me to. And that was enough. When I met Stacy and Stuart, I weighed 135 pounds, and my T cells were about 9. I wanted to tell you all of these incredible people, and all the ones I couldn't fit into the 5 minutes because they made an incredible mark on me. They genuinely cared about me, led by example, and spent way more time on me than I'm sure they were compensated for. I know I can be a pain in the ass, and they kept with it. I'm blessed to say that through divine intervention, my life has come full circle, and I now have the opportunity to work for PERSAD and street outreach services with homeless youth who are teetering on rock bottom in success. And if I can change the life of just one of these people, I know I'll be paying it forward to the many in the cast of characters that have truly changed my life. I am in debt to them and pay special tribute to all of those who weren't as lucky as I am to survive this epidemic. Thank you.